Welcome into this first carrier update presented by Powerfleet. I'm joined with Zach Strickland. Zach, how are you?
Good, Tony. So we're watching our tender volume index here in the green line today. Tender rejection rates continue to drop. we fell another 27 basis points to 9.44%. We were up over 9.6 yesterday, but there's no slowing in the tender rejection rate. It continues to fall. But the big takeaway here with tender volumes on the rise out of this little, what I call the Easter basket here, where we normally have a little trough during the week of Easter. Good Friday and now Easter Monday kind of serve as a little pseudo holiday as activity just declines typically. But now it's on the upward tick. So what we would have normally seen is this trough, and then it would have resumed its normal course. This is not the normal course of what we were watching before the holidays started, because if you look at the trend line here, it's pretty much straight down. It's falling off of a cliff, really. And we've come back to almost where we were before the Easter levels. Now I know it's still kind of a sequential decline, after a few weeks, but it's still flat. It's relatively flat compared to where we were to start the month. So this could be an indication that the contracted market itself is not experiencing the same level of erosion that we're seeing in the spot market. Now, we've talked about it before, where the spot and contract kind of have been disconnected every now and again, especially in times of transition, because the spot market a little bit more small carrier, small fleet heavy at times, and they tend to not have as many options, at least in front of them. Contracted carriers are looking at a board and they see, several loads coming out of a single market, and they get to kind of pick and choose. Spot market, you're looking at a load board or, several load boards that you got to piece together all in one spot, just trying to find something that gets you moving in a direction that you want to go. So you get a little bit more desperate when you don't see the options in front of you. And that's what we're seeing in the spot market right now. It looks a little bit more desperate, especially as a lot of these larger carriers, enterprise fleets, start to take up all this contracted freight.
Yeah, I think you make a great point there. I mean, these smaller carriers, they don't have the network, right? That network, that density to get contracted freight. I mean, some do, but but you're talking about, we look at the influx of capacity, right? What was it, 170,000 additional dispatchable trucks? Like, a lot of those come from small fleets, right? Those 5 trucks or less. And that's where you're seeing that erosion in the spot market, because they're just taking whatever they can get at this point.
Exactly, and that's going to create this kind of like sense of desperation. Now, the contracted, they're feeling the same pressure, but not to the same extent as the spot market is, because they're accepting all these volumes. I mean, 9-10% actually traditionally relatively tight. So there's still plenty of freight to move in the contracted space for now. It's just the trend is to fall much lower. Accepted volumes actually still relatively flat year over year, slightly down, but the further we get into it, if it keeps ticking up and those rejection rates start going down, we're actually just going to see the contract market stay flat while the spot market really has the erosion. Now, if we go to the next chart, this is kind of a historical perspective. This is the Cass Freight Shipments Index. So this is just basically an index of shipment volumes, and it includes just about everything. So it's truckload, and it does have a little bit of that intermodal and things like that in here as well. But the point of this chart here is I think, myself included, have kind of grown into this concept of this 2010 to 2015 freight pattern. If you look at this is the index. It's a very, it's like an echocardiogram of freight rhythm. And it's like, well, seasonality, and this is what's going to happen next. And we kind of, project that forward, saying that's what's going to happen. That's what a normal freight market is. Well, now, since about 2016, there has not been any, like we would be in the ER. Whereas this guy's healthy, going on jogs every day. This freight market is literally having a pacemaker to be surgically implanted there. This is actually a bigger space now than what we saw in 2010 to 2015. Of course, economic growth during that period was very stable, probably the single most stable in history. If you look back to before the recession, it was even crazier. So a lot of people built their models and things off of this, expecting it to come back. but we really need to start thinking about this is actually the normal.
Yeah, we've come up with this new normal.
Yeah.
But, well, thanks, Zach, for this update. Right now, we'll throw it back over to Sydney Edwards, who has our first live guest.